AITA for exposing my best friend's secret at her birthday party after finding out she's been dating my ex behind my back for 2 years. I, 28F, am still in shock as I type this. My fingers are literally shaking as I try to process what happened in the last 24 hours, and I desperately need some outside perspective because don't know if I've just destroyed multiple relationships or finally stood up for myself. For context, my best friend Olivia, 29F, and I have been inseparable since college. We've been through everything together: career struggles, family drama, and heartbreaks, including my devastating breakup with James, 30M. 3 years ago, James and I dated for 4 years, and I genuinely thought he was the one. He ended things suddenly, claiming he needed to find himself and wasn't ready for something serious. The breakup destroyed me, and Olivia was my rock through it all. She let me cry on her shoulder, brought me ice cream at 2 a.m., and promised me I'd find someone better. Fast forward to yesterday, Olivia's 29th birthday party. She rented out the back room of this upscale restaurant downtown and invited about 30 people, mostly mutual friends. I arrived early to help set up, feeling genuinely happy for my friend. I even splurged on an expensive gift, a pair of diamond earrings she'd been eyeing for months. The party was going great until I went to the bathroom and overheard 2 women talking in the stalls. I recognized their voices as Olivia's cousins, who I'd met a few times before. They were discussing how nervous they were about tonight because James might finally propose to Olivia, and how it's been so hard keeping their relationship secret from everyone, especially from Rachel. That's me. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My best friend and my ex? For 2 years? That means they got together just a year after our breakup, and she's been lying to my face this entire time. All those girls' nights where she listened to me talk about my dating life, all while hiding this massive secret. I stood frozen in that bathroom stall, unable to breathe. Then I heard one cousin say, "I still can't believe Olivia made James wait until Rachel was finally dating someone new before they could tell everyone. At least now the secret's almost over." That's when it clicked. Olivia knew I had recently started dating someone new, a guy named Mike that I'd been seeing for about 2 months. I'd been excited about him, telling Olivia that I finally felt ready to open up again. And apparently, that was her green light to finally come clean about her relationship with James. I walked out of that bathroom in a daze and immediately spotted them across the room. James had arrived while I was in the bathroom, and they were standing close together, his hand casually resting on the small of her back in a way that suddenly seemed so intimate and familiar. How had I never noticed before? The secret glances, the way they seemed to communicate without words. It was all so obvious now. In that moment, something in me snapped. I grabbed a champagne glass and walked to the center of the room. My hands were shaking, but I tapped on the glass and called for everyone's attention. The room quieted down, and everyone turned to look at me, including Olivia, who was smiling expectantly, probably thinking I was about to give a sweet birthday toast. "I'd like to make a toast," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite how I was crumbling inside. "To Olivia and James, congratulations on your 2-year relationship that you've been hiding from me. I just overheard in the bathroom that you might be getting engaged tonight. How exciting!" The room went completely silent. Olivia's face drained of color, and James looked like he wanted to disappear. I continued. "For those who don't know, James is my ex-boyfriend of 4 years who broke my heart, and Olivia is, well, I thought she was my best friend. The same best friend who held me while I cried over him, who promised me she'd always have my back." Olivia stepped forward. "Rachel, please, we were going to tell you tonight. That's why James is here. We never meant to hurt you." 2 years, Olivia," I shouted, tears finally streaming down my face. 2 years of lies. Every time I confided in you about my heartbreak, every time I trusted you with my feelings, you were sleeping with the person who caused them. Was it funny to you? Did you both laugh about poor, pathetic Rachel behind my back? James tried to intervene. "It wasn't like that. We never planned for this to happen." "Save it," I cut him off. "You know what? You two deserve each other. Here's your birthday present, Olivia." I threw the small gift box with the earrings on the floor and walked out. As I was leaving, I heard the whispers starting, the shocked conversations. I later found out that most of our friends didn't know about their relationship either. They'd kept it completely secret, apparently out of respect for me. It's been 24 hours. My phone has been blowing up with texts and calls, some from mutual friends saying I had every right to be upset, others from Olivia begging for a chance to explain. James even left a voicemail saying they had planned to tell me privately after the party, that they truly didn't mean to hurt me. But here's the part that's making me question if I'm the asshole. Olivia's mom called me this morning in tears. Apparently, after I left, James did propose. But the mood was so thoroughly ruined, and Olivia was so upset that what should have been one of the happiest moments of her life was completely destroyed. Her mom said I could have handled it privately instead of vindictively humiliating her daughter in front of everyone she cares about. So, AITA, should I have swallowed my hurt and confronted them privately later? Or did they deserve to have their secret exposed after lying to me for so long? Update. Wow. I did not expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you to everyone who commented. I've been reading through your responses, and it feels validating to know that so many of you think I'm NTA in this situation. At the same time, I've been thinking a lot about those of you who said ESH, and that maybe I could have handled it differently. I want to address a few common comments. Yes, James and I were completely broken up when they got together. No, we never had a friend code discussion specifically about exes, but I always thought it was an unspoken rule. And no, I haven't responded to either of them yet. I needed time to process. So here's what's happened since my original post 3 days ago. First, the fallout has been massive. Our friend group is completely divided. Some have taken my side, saying what Olivia and James did was unforgivable, while others think I overreacted and should have given them a chance to explain before causing a scene. My phone has basically become a battlefield of text messages and social media notifications. Yesterday, I finally agreed to meet with Olivia at a neutral coffee shop across town. I arrived early and saw her through the window before she spotted me. She looked terrible. Eyes puffy, hair pulled back messily, nothing like her usual put-together self. For a brief moment, I felt a twinge of guilt, but then I remembered the 2 years of lies. When she saw me, she started crying immediately. "Rachel, I don't even know where to begin," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "How about the truth for once?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. What followed was a 3-hour conversation that honestly left me more confused than before. According to Olivia, she and James reconnected by complete accident at a conference in Chicago a year after our breakup. She was there for work, he was there representing his company, and they bumped into each other at a networking event. They got drinks to catch up. One thing led to another. And, well, you can guess the rest. "I never planned for it to happen," she insisted. "I fought my feelings for months because I knew how wrong it was. I even tried dating other people to get him out of my head. But we just connected in a way I've never felt with anyone else." I asked her why she didn't just tell me from the beginning. Her answer surprised me. "James wanted to," she admitted. "After 3 months, he said we needed to come clean to you. But I was the one who kept pushing it off. I was terrified of losing you, Rachel. You're my best friend, and I knew what it would do to our friendship." When I pointed out that hiding it for 2 years was worse than coming clean early, she broke down completely. Between sobs, she told me that every time she worked up the courage to tell me, something would happen in my life. Another bad date, work stress, family issues, and she'd convince herself it wasn't the right time. The longer it went on, the harder it became to find the perfect moment. "And then you met Mike," she continued. "You seemed so happy, finally moving on. We decided that was the right time. James coming to the party was step 1. We were going to ask you to meet us for brunch the next day to tell you everything privately. The proposal wasn't supposed to happen until after we talked to you." I asked her about what I overheard in the bathroom. She looked genuinely confused and then horrified when I explained. "Those are my younger cousins," she said. "They've always been dramatic and apparently jumped to conclusions. James wasn't planning to propose at the party. He had mentioned wanting to do it soon, and they must have overheard and assumed. The secret they were referring to was our relationship, not an engagement." Then she showed me her hand. No ring. "He never got the chance to propose, Rachel. After you left, everything fell apart. He tried to come after you, but couldn't find you. I was a complete mess. Everyone was whispering. We both just wanted to disappear." I didn't know what to say. I had been so certain that they were planning this elaborate proposal as some kind of twisted finale to their deception. But if what she was saying was true, I might have jumped to conclusions about that part. Still, it doesn't change the fact that they hid their relationship for 2 years. When I pointed this out, Olivia didn't make excuses. "You're right," she said. "We were cowards, and we hurt you deeply. I understand if you can never forgive me, but I need you to know that we never laughed about you or thought you were pathetic. Every time you confided in me about your heartbreak, I felt like the worst person in the world. I wanted to help you heal while being terrified of causing you fresh pain. Before I left, I asked one final question that had been haunting me. Did your relationship have anything to do with our breakup? The timing had started to seem suspicious to me. Olivia looked me directly in the eyes. Absolutely not. I swear on my life, Rachel. We didn't speak for almost a year after you two broke up. There was never any overlap or emotional affair. It really was a chance meeting a year later. I don't know what to believe anymore. Part of me wants to trust her, this woman who has been my best friend for almost a decade. But another part wonders if this is just another manipulation. As for James, he sent me a long email. I haven't responded yet, but the gist was similar to what Olivia said. He also added that while he knows it doesn't matter now, he truly did need to end our relationship when he did. He wrote, "I was deeply depressed and lost after my dad died, and I couldn't be the partner you deserved. Breaking up was the right decision for both of us at that time, even though I handled it poorly. Meeting Olivia a year later was completely unexpected, and she helped me through the darkest period of my life. I know that must be painful to hear, but I want to be completely honest with you now." So here I am, still processing everything. Was I wrong to expose them publicly? Maybe. Do I regret it? I'm not sure. The truth would have come out eventually, just perhaps in a less dramatic way. I'm meeting with James tomorrow to hear his side directly. Part of me is dreading it, but I need closure. The strangest part in all this? Mike, the guy I recently started dating, has been incredibly understanding. When I told him everything, he just listened without judgment and said, "Take all the time you need to figure this out. I'll be here." That small kindness made me cry more than anything else. I'll update again after meeting with James. Thanks for listening. Reddit, update 2. It's been a week since my last update, and I feel like I've been on an emotional roller coaster. Thank you to everyone who's been following this saga and offering advice. I've been trying to take it all in and make decisions that aren't purely reactive. As planned, I met with James. We chose a quiet park instead of a cafe because I wanted space to process without strangers watching if things got emotional. Seeing him walk toward me brought back a flood of memories, both good and painful. We dated for 4 years, planned a future together, and then it all fell apart. Now here he was, in love with my best friend. Life has a sick sense of humor sometimes. He looked nervous, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. We sat on a bench overlooking a small pond, keeping a careful distance between us. "I owe you an explanation," he began, "and an apology that's long overdue." What followed was a conversation that forced me to confront truths I hadn't been ready to face. James talked about his father's sudden death a month before our breakup, something I knew had devastated him, but perhaps I hadn't fully understood the depth of his grief. He described falling into a depression that made him question everything about his life and future. "I should have been honest with you then," he admitted. "Instead of saying I needed to find myself, I should have told you I was barely functioning. I didn't want to burden you with my darkness, and I couldn't be the person you needed." When I asked why he didn't just ask for space rather than ending things completely, his answer surprised me. "Because I knew you, Rachel. You would have waited, supported me, put your life on hold, and I couldn't bear the thought of dragging you down with me. You deserved someone whole, not someone broken." I won't lie, hearing this reopened old wounds, but it also provided closure I didn't realize I still needed. As for his relationship with Olivia, his story matched hers. They reconnected by chance, started as friends, and feelings developed. He pushed to tell me early on, but ultimately gave in when Olivia insisted they wait. "That was my biggest mistake," he said, looking genuinely remorseful. "I should have insisted we be honest with you from the beginning. Every day that passed made it harder to come clean." Then he pulled out a small velvet box from his pocket. My heart stopped for a moment until he clarified, "I'm not proposing to you, don't worry, but I wanted to show you this." Inside was an engagement ring. Simple, elegant, with a center diamond flanked by 2 smaller stones. "I never planned to propose at the party," he said. "That was a misunderstanding. My plan was to propose to Olivia after we'd spoken to you privately and given you time to process everything." He closed the box and put it away. Obviously, that plan is on hold now. We both feel terrible about how everything unfolded. The conversation shifted then to something unexpected. James asked about my new relationship with Mike, showing genuine interest. When I described how supportive Mike had been through this mess, James smiled. "He sounds like a good guy, better than I was to you in many ways." That comment led us to reminisce about our relationship, the good and the bad. For the first time, we both acknowledged that even before his father's death, we had issues we'd been ignoring. Different life goals, communication styles that often clashed, his workaholic tendencies, my need for constant reassurance. Maybe we weren't meant to be forever, I admitted, surprising myself with the realization. But that doesn't justify how you both handled this situation. You're absolutely right, he agreed, and I'll regret that for a long time. As we were about to part ways, he asked if I thought there was any chance of salvaging my friendship with Olivia. I told him honestly that I didn't know. Here's where things get more complicated. 2 days after meeting James, I received a text from Olivia asking if we could talk again. She said she had something important to tell me that couldn't wait. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at her apartment this time. She looked even worse than before, like she hadn't slept in days. Before I could say anything, she blurted out, "I'm pregnant." The world seemed to tilt sideways. Pregnant? With James's baby? It felt like another bomb dropping in my already chaotic life. Through tears, she explained that she'd found out just before her birthday party. Only James knew. They had planned to tell their families after speaking with me about their relationship. The stress of the past week had been especially difficult because of morning sickness and hormones, but she'd been hiding it from everyone. "I'm not telling you this to manipulate you or gain sympathy," she insisted. "But I needed you to know the complete truth. We're having a baby, Rachel." I sat there, stunned into silence. My ex and my best friend were not only in love but creating a family together. It felt like the final twist of the knife, but then something strange happened. As I watched Olivia nervously twisting her hands, looking terrified of my reaction, I felt my anger beginning to shift. Not disappear, it's still very much there, but transform into something more complex. "How far along are you?" I asked. "Almost 8 weeks, she replied. "We weren't trying, it just happened." I found myself asking about her symptoms, if she'd seen a doctor yet, how James had reacted to the news. The conversation became almost normal. For a brief moment, we were just two women talking about pregnancy, not two people in the middle of an emotional hurricane. As I was leaving, Olivia grabbed my hand. "I know I have no right to ask anything of you right now, but I'm scared, Rachel. I always imagined you'd be by my side when I went through this. I always thought we'd be pregnant together, raise our children as friends." I gently pulled my hand away. "I need more time. This is a lot to process." On my drive home, I called Mike and asked if he could come over. When he arrived, I broke down completely, ugly crying into his shoulder as I told him everything. He just held me, not offering platitudes or solutions, just being present. When I finally calmed down, he asked a question that hit me hard. "What do you want, Rachel? Not what you think you should want, or what others expect you to do, but what do you want?" I realized I don't actually know the answer to that question. Part of me wants to cut Olivia and James out of my life completely and start fresh. Another part recognizes the decade of friendship with Olivia and wonders if it's worth throwing away over a man I now acknowledge wasn't my perfect match anyway. And there's a tiny part, the part I'm almost ashamed to admit, that can't help but think about that unborn child. My best friend's baby. The child who, in another reality, might have called me Auntie Rachel and had me babysitting on weekends. So that's where I stand now. I'm meeting with my therapist tomorrow to try to sort through these feelings. Mike has been my rock through all of this, but I don't want to burden him too much with my past drama. I still don't know if I'm the asshole for exposing them at the party. Some days I think I was justified, other days I regret not handling it privately. Maybe we're all assholes in our own way. I'll update again when I've figured out what I want to do next. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and I hardly know where to begin. Life has taken some unexpected turns, and I'm still trying to catch my breath. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting and messaging with support. It truly means more than you know. After my last post, I spent a lot of time in therapy, working through my feelings about Olivia, James, and the baby. My therapist helped me realize that I wasn't just upset about the relationship, I was mourning the loss of what I thought my life would look like. For years, I had pictured Olivia as my maid of honor someday, as the godmother to my children. And yes, for a long time, I had pictured James as my husband. All of those future visions were shattered now, and I needed to grieve them. In the midst of this emotional processing, something unexpected happened. Mike and I were having dinner at his place when he received a phone call that visibly upset him. After hanging up, he looked at me with such intensity that I knew something was wrong. Rachel, there's something I need to tell you, he said, his voice tight. Something I should have told you from the beginning. My stomach dropped. More secrets? I didn't think I could handle another betrayal. Mike took a deep breath. James and I know each other. We went to the same high school and played on the same basketball team. We weren't close friends, but we definitely knew each other. I felt like I'd been doused in cold water. You what? And you're just telling me this now? He held up his hands. Please, let me explain. When you first mentioned his name, I didn't immediately connect it. James is a common name, and you never showed me pictures. It wasn't until you described him in more detail after the party incident that I realized it was the same James from high school. That was weeks ago, I said, my voice rising. Why didn't you say something then? Mike looked genuinely ashamed. Because I was afraid you'd think I was dating you for some weird, complicated reason related to him. And because there's more to the story that I'm not proud of. What followed was a revelation that left me questioning everything. Apparently, Mike and James had a falling out in their senior year over a girl named Ellie. Mike had been dating her first, and James supposedly stole her away. According to Mike, he never forgave James for that betrayal, and they hadn't spoken since graduation. So what is this? I demanded, standing up from the table. Some sick revenge plot? Date James's ex to get back at him? No. Mike looked horrified. Rachel, I swear to you, I had no idea you and James had dated when we first met. I was attracted to you because you're smart and funny and beautiful, not because of any connection to him. When I figured out who he was, I should have told you immediately. I was wrong to keep it from you, and I'm sorry. That's when my phone rang. It was Olivia, calling in tears. Before I could even say hello properly, she was talking rapidly. Rachel, I need to talk to you. It's about Mike. There's something you need to know. I looked at Mike, who seemed genuinely confused by my expression. I put the phone on speaker and said, Mike is actually here with me right now, and he's just told me that he and James know each other from high school. Is that what you were calling about? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Partly, Olivia said carefully. But there's more. James just got a call from an old friend who saw you and Mike together at the cinema last weekend. Rachel, Mike dated James's sister for almost 2 years in college. It ended badly, really badly. She had to get a restraining order. The room seemed to spin. I looked at Mike, whose face had gone pale. That's not true, he said immediately. James doesn't even have a sister. He's an only child. Olivia, what are you talking about? Now it was Olivia's turn to sound confused. What? No, James has a half-sister from his dad's first marriage. Her name is Meredith. She's 3 years younger than him. Mike shook his head firmly. The James Wilson I knew in high school was definitely an only child. His parents were Bob and Linda Wilson. James's parents are David and Susan Fitzgerald, Olivia replied. Rachel, who are you talking about? That's when it hit me. Oh my God, I whispered. We're talking about different people. Over the next bewildering hour, we pieced together what had happened. The James that Mike knew from high school was indeed a completely different person from my ex-boyfriend James. A bizarre coincidence of the same first name and similar physical descriptions had created this massive misunderstanding. Once we cleared that up, Mike's relief was palpable. But I was still upset that he'd kept the perceived connection from me for weeks. I should have told you as soon as I suspected, he admitted. I was just afraid it would complicate things between us when everything was going so well. After Mike left that night, I called Olivia back and had a long, surprisingly honest conversation. With the mistaken identity situation cleared up, we focused on the real issues between us. I miss you, she admitted. Every day. I keep picking up my phone to text you about random things, and then I remember. I miss you too, I found myself saying. And it was true. Despite everything, there was a hole in my life where she used to be. We talked about the pregnancy. She'd had her first ultrasound and heard the heartbeat. James had gone with her, and they'd both cried. As she described it, I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Jealousy, yes, but also a strange sense of acceptance? Maybe even the tiniest spark of happiness for her? I'm not saying I forgive you yet, I told her, but I think I'm starting to understand that people can make terrible mistakes without being terrible people. 2 days later, I met with James one more time. I needed to ask him something that had been bothering me since my talk with Mike. Did you ever date a girl named Ellie in high school? Did you take her from someone else? James looked perplexed. Ellie? No, I dated a girl named Emily junior year, but that's it. Why? I explained the mix-up with Mike, and James actually laughed. That's wild. But no, I've never stolen anyone's girlfriend. That's not my style. We ended up talking for over 2 hours, and for the first time, it didn't feel painful. We reminisced about good memories, acknowledged where we went wrong, and even talked about his excitement about becoming a father. When I left, we hugged, a quick, somewhat awkward embrace, but one that felt like closing a chapter respectfully. As for Mike, we've decided to slow things down. The foundation of our relationship was built during an emotionally turbulent time for me, and we both agree we need to make sure what we have is real and not just a response to chaos. But I like him a lot, and he's been incredibly patient as I work through everything. Last weekend, I did something I never thought I would do so soon. I had lunch with Olivia, just the two of us, at our favorite brunch spot. It was awkward at first, carefully dancing around certain topics, but by the end, we were almost like our old selves. Almost. She asked if I would consider being in their lives again. Not just hers, but the baby's too. No pressure, she said, and I understand if it's too much to ask. I told her honestly that I didn't know yet, that I needed more time, that forgiveness is a process, not an event. But here's the thing, Reddit, I think I want to try. Not for them, but for me. Holding on to anger is exhausting, and I'm tired of letting this situation define my life. So that's where I stand now, cautiously rebuilding a friendship that I thought was destroyed forever, slowly developing a relationship with someone new, and learning that life rarely gives us the neat, clean endings we crave. There's one more development that I'm still processing. James and Olivia have postponed any engagement plans indefinitely. It doesn't feel right to celebrate that milestone yet, Olivia explained. We have a lot of healing and trust building to do first, with you and with our other friends who were hurt by our deception. I don't know what the future holds. Will Olivia and I ever be as close as we once were? Will I be a part of their child's life? Will Mike and I work out? These questions don't have answers yet, but for the first time in months, I'm looking forward to finding out. Final update. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I promised myself I wouldn't post again until I had real closure to share. So much has happened that it's hard to know where to begin, but I'll try to focus on the major developments that brought me to today, sitting in a hospital waiting room while my once best friend brings a new life into the world. After that awkward lunch with Olivia, we started slowly rebuilding our friendship. Small steps at first. Text messages, occasional coffee meetups, always in public places where we could maintain some emotional distance. I was cautious, afraid of being hurt again, but also committed to giving our decade-long friendship a chance at redemption. As Olivia's pregnancy progressed, something unexpected happened. I found myself genuinely caring about the baby. When she shyly asked if I wanted to feel the first kicks, I hesitated only briefly before placing my hand on her growing belly. The flutter of movement beneath my palm broke something open inside me, a realization that this child was innocent in all of this, and that my capacity for love wasn't diminished by past hurts. My relationship with Mike evolved too, but not in the way I expected. After several months of dating, we had an honest conversation about our future. The chemistry between us was undeniable, but we both recognized that I jumped into the relationship while still processing major trauma. I think I need to be alone for a while, I finally admitted one night over dinner, to figure out who I am after all of this. Instead of being upset, Mike seemed relieved. I was thinking the same thing, he confessed. You're amazing, Rachel, but I feel like I've been a chapter in someone else's story, not the beginning of our own. We parted ways amicably, and I spent the next few months focusing on myself, reconnecting with old hobbies, advancing in my career, and most importantly, going to therapy consistently. My therapist helped me understand that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened, but rather freeing myself from the burden of resentment. As for James, we established a cordial relationship built on our shared care for Olivia and the baby. It was strange at first, navigating this new dynamic, but eventually it became normal. The pain of our breakup faded into something more like nostalgia for a different time in my life. 3 months ago, Olivia asked me to be present for the birth of her daughter. I was stunned by the invitation. Are you sure? Shouldn't James's mother or your sister be there instead? They'll be at the hospital too, she explained. But I want you there, Rachel. You're still my person despite everything, if you're comfortable with it. I agreed, touched by her vulnerability and my own surprising desire to be there for this moment. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The twist I never saw coming. 2 weeks ago, I received a frantic call from James. Olivia had been in a minor car accident. Nothing serious, but enough to warrant a precautionary hospital visit given how close she was to her due date. I rushed to the hospital and found James pacing anxiously in the waiting room. "They're running tests, but she seems okay," he explained. "Just shaken up. The baby's heartbeat is strong." Relief washed over me, followed by the realization of how deeply I still cared for Olivia's well-being. We sat together, James and I, in a silence that wasn't uncomfortable, but contemplative. Then he broke it with words I never expected to hear. "She called your name first." "What?" I asked, confused. "When the paramedics arrived, they asked who they should contact. She gave them your name before mine." He wasn't angry, just stating a fact that seemed to have shaken him. Before I could respond, the doctor appeared to tell us Olivia was fine, just bruised and stressed. We could see her now. In her hospital room, Olivia reached for my hand first when we entered. James noticed, his expression unreadable. After assuring ourselves she was truly okay, James stepped out to call their parents with an update. That's when Olivia broke down. Not from the accident, but from something else entirely. "I can't do this anymore," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I've been living a lie, and the accident made me realize how fragile life is." My heart raced. "What are you talking about?" "James and I." She struggled to find the words. "We care about each other deeply. He's going to be an amazing father, but what we have isn't." It's not." "It's not what?" I prompted gently. "It's not love, not the kind that lasts forever." She looked up at me, her eyes full of guilt and confusion. We got caught up in the excitement of forbidden feelings, in the drama of it all. But these past few months, as we've been preparing for the baby, we've both realized we want different things from life. We've been pretending everything is perfect because we've already hurt so many people, especially you. I was speechless. After everything, the secret relationship, the public exposure, the pregnancy, they weren't even sure they wanted to be together. "Have you told him how you feel?" I finally asked. She nodded. "Last week, we agreed to focus on co-parenting regardless of what happens with our relationship. But the accident made everything more urgent somehow." That night, I drove home in a daze, my mind replaying the last 9 months of chaos. All of this pain and drama, and they weren't even certain of their feelings for each other. Part of me wanted to be angry all over again. But instead, I found myself laughing, actually laughing at the absurdity of it all. Human emotions are so complicated, so contradictory. We hurt the people we love most. We make monumental mistakes. We create chaos trying to avoid pain. The next morning, James called. He asked if we could meet, just the two of us. Over coffee, he confirmed what Olivia had told me. "I'll always care for her," he said, "and I'm committed to being the best father I can be. But somewhere along the way, we confused intensity for compatibility." Then he said something that truly stunned me. "You know, in a strange way, you exposing us at the party might have been the best thing that could have happened." It forced us to face reality instead of living in the secret fantasy world we'd created. We talked for hours about the past, about regrets, about forgiveness. For the first time, I felt like I was seeing the real James, not my ex-boyfriend or Olivia's partner, but just a flawed human being trying to figure life out like the rest of us. Which brings me to today. Olivia went into labor early this morning. James called me right away, and I've been at the hospital for the past 12 hours. They aren't together romantically anymore, having officially ended things a week after our conversations, but they're united in their excitement about becoming parents. The waiting room is full of family and friends, some who took my side in the initial drama, others who didn't. Somehow, none of that seems important anymore. We're all here for the same reason, to welcome a new life. James just came out to the waiting room, his eyes red from crying. "It's a girl," he announced. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Both mom and baby are doing great. When it was my turn to visit, I entered the room tentatively. Olivia looked exhausted but radiant, cradling a tiny bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. "Rachel," she said softly, "meet your goddaughter if you'll have her." I burst into tears as she placed the newborn in my arms. Looking down at that perfect, innocent face, I felt the last pieces of resentment melt away. This little girl would grow up surrounded by complicated adults with messy histories, but also with so much love. "What's her name?" I asked through tears. Olivia exchanged a look with James, who nodded encouragingly. "Hope," she said. "Her name is Hope." It was perfect, because that's what this child represents to all of us. Hope for healing, for forgiveness, for second chances. I don't know what the future holds. Olivia and James are committed to co-parenting while pursuing their own paths. I'm dating again, casually, no pressure, and focusing on my career. Our friend group has largely healed, though the dynamics are forever changed. As for my relationship with Olivia, it's different now. The innocence and blind trust are gone, replaced by something more mature, more honest. We've seen each other at our worst and chosen to love each other anyway. So that's my story. Reddit. From finding out my best friend was secretly dating my ex, to publicly exposing them at her birthday party, to standing as godmother to their child, life is stranger and more complicated than I ever could have imagined. If there's a lesson in all of this, maybe it's that the worst moments of our lives don't define us. It's what we do after them that matters. People make terrible mistakes, hearts get broken, trust gets shattered, but healing is possible if we're brave enough to choose it. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Your comments and support have meant the world during this chaotic chapter of my life. I won't be updating again. This chapter is finally closed, but I wanted you to know that sometimes, even the messiest stories can have beautiful endings. Not perfect endings, but beautiful ones, nonetheless.